Schools in Tel Aviv open under heavy security after Friday's attack as a manhunt continues for the gunman. In Israel, 4 defendants are indicted this morning for murder in connection with an arson attack that killed 3 members of the Palestinian family. And Iranian authorities arrest dozens after the Saudi embassy in Tehran is burned by a mob over executions in Saudi Arabia. Hello, you're watching I-24 News. I'm David Matlin. Well, Tel Aviv's schools opened as usual on Sunday, but under heavy security as the search continues for the suspect in Friday's deadly Tel Aviv shooting. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the site of the attack on Tel Aviv's Dizengoff Street. Our correspondent Tamara Ziv has more.
As schools in Tel Aviv opened their doors under beefed-up security as the new week began following Friday's fatal shooting, Mayor Ron Huldai stated that parents who feel that it's not safe to send their children to school will not be obligated to do so. The manhunt continued Sunday for an Israeli Arab identified as the suspect in the New Year's Day attack in the heart of Tel Aviv, which killed 2 and wounded 7. Shortly after police publicized the name of the suspect, 31-year-old Nashat Melhem of Arara, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the scene of the attack, where he spoke out about the need to fight incitement and increase law enforcement in Israeli Arab areas.
I will not tolerate 2 states within Israel, one which is law-abiding and the other with limited law enforcement, where illegal arms are common to be found and used time and time again in festivities and to execute criminal attacks. This era is over.
Police forces raided Melhem's house on Saturday, confiscated a computer and arrested his brother, whose remand has been extended by 5 days. The father of the suspect, who, according to Israeli media, volunteers at the local civil guard and who legally owns the weapon with which the attack was executed, condemned his son's attack.
My son, I heard he was in Tel Aviv and did what he did. I did not raise him in this manner, and I am sorry for what he did. When I found out of the incident, I personally on my own arrived to the police station and assisted all security bodies with all directions. Guys, first of all, I thank you. And secondary, I wish all wounded to get well, and I send my condolences to everyone, whether a Jew or an Arab.
2 of those wounded in the attack remain in intensive care at Tel Aviv's Ichilov Hospital.
Well, in Israel, 4 defendants were indicted this morning for murder in connection with the ongoing investigation into the arson attack that killed 3 members of a Palestinian family in Duma, southeast of Nablus, in July. The defendants' identities are still under gag order, but the Justice Ministry said the 4 Israeli males, 2 of whom are minors, will be indicted for, quote, involvement in a range of grave terrorist activities against Arabs and their property. In the West Bank city of Hebron, hundreds marched in a funeral procession for 17 Palestinian bodies retrieved from Israel. Yesterday, Israel handed over a total of 23 Palestinians killed during recent attacks on Israelis in an apparent bid to ease tensions. The IDF said its ambulances transferred the bodies to the Red Cross, which were then transferred to the families. Since a wave of violence erupted at the start of October, 138 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces, most while carrying out attacks on Israelis.
Thank God we have received all the bodies of the martyrs in Hebron, and we will keep on demanding the rest of the martyr bodies, the martyrs of Jerusalem, God willing.
And a furious mob of Iranian protesters firebombed Saudi Arabia's embassy in Tehran late last night after the kingdom executed 47 prisoners, including a top Shiite cleric, prompting fears of further sectarian violence and instability in the Middle East. Iranian police have arrested at least 40 of the demonstrators. I-24 News has more.
Saudi Arabia executed a prominent Shiite Muslim cleric, Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr, along with 46 other people for charges of terrorism on Saturday. The government said the executed included Sunnis convicted of involvement in deadly al-Qaeda attacks. The executions were an apparent message to both Sunni Muslim jihadists and Shiite anti-government protesters that the conservative Islamic kingdom won't tolerate violent dissent. The 56-year-old cleric, Nimr al-Nimr, was a driving force of the protests that broke out in 2011 in the Sunni-ruled kingdom's east, where the Shiite minority complains of marginalization. His execution has sparked protests, with dozens of Shiite Muslims marching in Saudi Arabia's village of Al-Awamiyah. Demonstrators chanted "Down with Al Saud," the name of the ruling Saudi family. The execution of Nimr is also expected to inflame already raging sectarian tensions across the Middle East. Shiite Iran has warned that the execution would cost Saudi Arabia dearly, with some clerics saying that this could lead to the fall of the Saudi royal family. Angry reactions also came from Shiites in Lebanon and Yemen, calling the Saudi action a grave mistake and pronouncing Nimr as a holy warrior. But Saudi Arabia stands firmly behind its actions.
We are totally confident in what we do and what we believe in. We do not pay attention to external points of view of our measures, whether on justice or the implementation of sentences.
The interference in judicial matters is unacceptable, and it is not possible to hear it because justice is a sovereign thing, and it is the right of the state to apply the rules and the legitimacy that rules our territory.
Nearly 160 people were executed in Saudi Arabia in 2015, with beheadings reaching their highest level in 2 decades.
Well, the Saudi-led coalition that's been bombing Shiite Houthi movement in Yemen for 9 months announced the end to a ceasefire that began December 15th, but was repeatedly violated by both sides. Saudi press agencies said the ceasefire had reportedly come to an end due to the continuous rebel firing of ballistic missiles towards Saudi cities, targeting Saudi border posts and hampering aid operations. And Iraqi government forces are continuing to fight to retake the rest of Ramadi from the Islamic State. And an Iraqi official said that the militants' resistance is futile in stopping the total liberation of the city. The official spokesman for the counterterrorism unit of the Iraqi Special Forces said that so far, Iraqi government troops, aided by U.S.-led coalition airstrikes, have recaptured about 85% of Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province, which is some 110 kilometers north of Baghdad. And now we go to Matthias Inbar, our correspondent, who's standing by outside the court here again as indictments have been handed down in the arson case in Israel in the village of Duma. Matthias, I understand there's still a gag order in place. So what can you tell us about the indictments?
Yeah, the guards are still on suspects indicted. What we can say for murder and involvement in the murder of 3 members of the Wapshire family court to discuss requests to lift a gag order or investigation. Now it's still on discussion in the court. At the same time, indictments were filed against additional suspects over their involvement in other incidents of harming Palestinians. The court will discuss a request to lift the gag order in a quarter in 15 minutes. And now what we can say that 2 persons are indicted. One is 22 years old and the second is 17 years old. What we can say is not so much details on the story you said, so there's still a gag order on the story, but we can say that the 2 have been indicted of the murder and complicity to murder.
Well, thank you very much for the update there outside the courthouse here. That's Matthias Inbar. And U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump on Saturday blasted U.S. President Barack Obama and his Democratic competitor Hillary Clinton in front of a capacity crowd in Biloxi, Mississippi, blaming them for the Islamic State and promising to strike down any Obama executive actions on gun control. In the wide-ranging speech, Trump bounced around campaign topics and cited positive election surveys to applause from the crowd.
They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama. Created with Obama. Hillary Clinton runs, and she should be in jail, by the way, for what she did, just so you understand. No, she should be. She should be. You know, it's really sad. It's a corrupt system. Everybody knows she should be in jail. What she did with the emails is a disgrace. People that did 5% of what she did, their lives have been destroyed, their lives have been ruined. Their lives have been ruined. Look at those guys. They don't turn.
Well, that's all for the headlines. Thanks for joining us.